Hello everybody again, it's Sue Clark Winberg from Ottawa, Canada. It's nighttime here, about 11 p.m., but I'm a night owl. I was born at midnight, so I love to type all night because my floor here where I live in the apartments is quiet. During the day there's lots of noise. I live in a building with rice paper thin walls. We can hear each other when we flush the toilet, when we put on the water, so it's not too private here except at night when they're all in bed or at least watching TV. Okay, this is the Sue Clark story part 5. This is about my life. I'm 59 years old now. My husband's 54, Stephen Winberg. I have a good life, a happy life. My husband's good to me. I'm happy. I have good friends. I like the job that I do, anti-psychiatry. I've met a lot of wonderful people like yourselves. I have a Facebook page, facebook.com/SUECLARK Wittenberg, WITTENBERG. I sit on the chair. I monitor my pages for 10 hours a day. I chat to a lot of wonderful people. I put a lot of links up. It's my life. My life is anti-psychiatry, and I have a good reason for it. I was psychiatrized, as you know, for 18 years, from 1972 to 1990. I am free of psychiatry, thank God. I feel a lot better now. Anyhow, I overeat too much. I'm a compulsive overeater. It is not a disorder. I don't believe in disorders, but a habit. When I was at the Royal Ottawa Hospital the first time at 17 years old, I was never locked up. I was on a locked ward. I was frustrated, agitated, mad, angry that I was on a locked ward. I wasn't crazy. There was nothing wrong with me. It was my mom and dad acting out and abusing me and my uncle molesting me. I was very depressed from all the abuse for 17 years at home. Anyhow, I was 17 years old. They didn't have any snacks at each meal. They had cakes and cookies, and so I was 125 pounds in 1972 when I entered the ward, the Whitney 4 ward, in March of 1972. I was about 125 pounds. I used food to cope. On the ward, when the meal came around, I'd ask for a double meal. I went to the cafeteria and had 2 meals. And they had no fruit or bananas, apples, or anything. I ate the cookies and cakes that came around. I grabbed as many as I could. I left some for my peers, of course, but I took 2 instead of 1. That's why I got fat. The medications made me very hungry. I ate like a horse. I have diabetes, I believe, caused by a psychiatric drug. I'm going to try to lose weight. I have to. Doctor's orders. I'm in a wheelchair now. I don't get much exercise, but I want to start to walk again if I can. Since I broke my 2 shoulders last year, I lost my ability to walk. I can walk a little bit. It's getting better every day. Anyhow, Dr. Bregan said, a psychiatrist in New York State, he said, going to see a psychiatrist is the most dangerous thing a person can do. He must know he's a psychiatrist. He doesn't give pills, electroshock, or diagnosis. He is a private practice. Go to BREGGIN.com. Now, in 1990, I went off the pills cold turkey. I had no help. Now, going off your psychiatric drugs cold turkey is a very dangerous thing to do if you want to do that. That is your prerogative. However, when I did, I called a few of the drug, addicts rehabs, the homes for drug addicts, like on heroin, cocaine. I never did that stuff. I had enough medication in my cupboards. My drug pushers were my psychiatrists. I didn't have to pay a cent. I had a drug card. I would lie about my pills. I say, oh, I left them on the bus. Oh, I left them somewhere. I called the shrink psychiatrist and they give me more. I was stocking them up so I could kill myself, you see. Every psychiatric survivor, when they visit someone's home, most of them go into their friend's medicine cabinet. We all do it. I've done it, but I've never taken anything. But I had a very hard time on September 29th, 1984. I had a lot of trouble with John Clark, my second husband. He was abusing me, mentally abusing me, and his mom was abusing me on the phone. So I told him to go out one night, somewhere, library or something. I went and I disconnected the phone, not because we didn't pay the bill. I didn't like that they were not hiring people to answer the phones. It was this robot thing. I always paid my bill, so let you know, so I had no phone. I did a protest for 2 years, didn't have a phone, and then I got one, of course, later on, but I did pay the phone bill. Anyhow, but I told him to cut off because I don't like the way that you are firing your staff, that the operators, and now we have robots answering. Okay, so anyhow, I was upset. I had lots of pills in my cupboard. I was hoarding them for lots of reasons. I have blue pills, multicolored pills, black pills, yellow pills, white pills, orange pills, pink pills, little ones, big ones. Ones in capsules. I had maybe 1,000 or 2,000 pills. I collected them for about a year. Oh, I lost my pills, doctor. Oh, I left them at a restaurant. I don't know if they're there anymore. I lied. Of course I lied. I think a lot of us do when we're addicts. I was a psychiatric drug addict. I didn't need no drug dealer on the street. I had them in the psychiatric hospitals. Call psychiatrists. Are the biggest drug pushers in the world. Big Pharma makes billions of dollars a year. They don't tell you the warning signs that some psychiatric drugs cause diabetes. Psychiatric drugs shorten your life by 20 years now. Look on Google. Psychiatric drugs, if you take them over 20 years, will shorten your life by 20 years. Look on Google. There's lots of stuff there. Lots of stuff. Lots of stuff. Lots. Google is my best resource, my best library. Thank God we have Google because we can find the information at our fingertips. It's right there, instantly. We don't have to go to the library like years ago and look in through one of those encyclopedias. Ask the librarian, do you have a magazine on this? No! Google is our encyclopedia. It's at our fingertips. If we can't find it, we go to a website and ask someone that will answer questions on a website. Okay, enough of that. I tend to ramble on, I'm sorry. I'm a yacker. Obviously, I'm Canadian, and they say Canadians use the telephone the most. There's 30 million of us now. In the world, as a country, we talk the most on the phones. You better believe it, I do. I'm a yacker. Okay, so I want to keep on going here. I hope I don't bore you to death. Anyhow, I'm a little tired. It's about 11:30 at night, but I'll stay up and do the rest of my story. I'm going to make another 5 or 6 more tonight. Why not, eh? Do it in one shot. Okay. So as we were talking, okay, I'm an anti-psychiatry activist. That scares people. That means that I oppose psychiatry totally. I don't believe in their psychiatric labels like schizophrenia, bipolar, and all that. I don't take their medications that are very brain disabling. And of course, I had 5 electroshocks, and you all know that I died, my heart stopped, and they revived me. I lived to tell the tale. I lived to tell you guys what happened to me, okay? 18 years of torture, then I got out. I just fired the shrink, got off the pills. Bad news. You try and get some help. Dr. Reagan's website has a book on getting off psych drugs. Only if you want to. That's your prerogative. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm only telling you my story, what happened to me. Okay? I want you to get that straight. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you my story, what happened to me, and it's true. Okay? It's been documented in a lot of places. Lots of websites and that. Okay. Now, another thing I want to tell you is that my mother got no help at all. There was something wrong with her. I think she may have been abused by my uncle, the diddler, the molester. Something happened to her. My dad got no help either. He was poor. When he was a child, his dad went to the Royal Ottawa Rehab Center for TB. They lived in a foster care home. The one brother died. My dad had 2 brothers and a sister, and the youngest brother died in some accident. Okay? He was so poor, he didn't eat very well, and he got rickets. It means your legs go like bow-legged. Okay? You're poor. My grandfather used to beat my mother. Yvette. That's my middle name. When I was baptized a week right after I was born, the Catholic thing was in the 50s, when a baby was born, they were baptized a week later. My name is Suzanne Yvette Marie Legare, Legare. Yvette is always the name of your, the one that helps to baptize you. My godmother. My godfather is Albert Legare, my father's father. Anyhow. Well, apparently Albert Legare, my dad's dad, his father was a tyrant. And when he was married to my dad's mother, which is Yvette Legare, he used to beat her. She used to sell Avon in Hull, Quebec. When she was about 53, she had an aneurysm and she died at the Ottawa General Hospital. I was about 3. In 58, I was about 3 years old. She had curly hair and I got her curly hair. Curly hair. Albert worked in the plant for making wood products. He became deaf, a little bit deaf. When he was sick, my father had a scholarship to the Sorbonne University in Paris because he was smart, but he couldn't take the scholarship because he had to work at the paper mill because his father was sick. My mother came from a family of 11 kids. There were 6 boys and 3 girls. Another girl died when Aunt Laura went out in the wintertime without a coat, and died with pneumonia. Because in those days they didn't have the antibiotics to save her life. Some people still die with pneumonia. And my grandmother had a stillbirth. She had 11 children. Laura died, and 1 stillborn. My mother had 6 brothers and 2 sisters. Her sisters were Anne Caroline, and Olive. And her brothers were Herbie, the oldest. We had Pete. We had Bill. He died of a diabetic coma. Lyman, the family diddler. And we also had Uncle Denzel and Uncle Pete. All the brothers went to war. And the sisters did, except my mother. She was too young. And Uncle Lyman didn't go to war. I guess they tested him and knew he was not all there. It's obvious. Anyhow, they went to London. Some went to Italy. One time when I was I went to Coburg. My parents went to Mexico and they babysat me for a month. And Sheila was my Uncle Denzel's wife. He took off his shirt. There was a big hole in his back. I said, "Uncle, what happened?" He said, "I was shot in the war." A big hole. It was, of course, healed in that. Most of my uncles came back and became alcoholics due to that post-trauma. I hate disorders, but shell shock. Uncle Pete was a terrible alcoholic. Uncle Bill would sit all day in his boxers and drink beer all day. He died relatively in his late 50s from diabetes. Uncle Pat drank, then he quit. And Herbie did too, he quit. So all my 6 uncles became alcoholics, except Lyman became an alcoholic and he quit. Lyman didn't go to war, he was strange. Anyhow, okay? So, my aunt, Olive, met her husband, John Burns, in England and married him. Caroline married her husband, Stuart. A lot of them, and Pete married Colleen and they moved to Cornwall. Herbie was married, but then he left his wife. A lot of them got divorced because of the trauma. They couldn't handle it. Now, my father's brother, Jerry, was a pedophile. He molested his 2 daughters, and my cousin Louise, she went to her Nana, which is my father's dad's second wife, and she got a paper to get married, and she went to Alberta. She's in Alberta. Yeah, she's in Alberta. Saw her website. I won't give the last name. Anyhow, I don't know a lot of my cousins in Ottawa. My father made sure that he kept me and my brother away from all the relatives, so I guess they didn't know that he was beating my mom, and my mom was beating us. My dad knew. One day he said to me, Suzanne, I don't understand why your brother and you don't like me, but you seem to like your mother. I didn't like my mother. He said, because I know she beats the both of you. But Dad didn't do anything. He was a wimp. He took karate. He was a black belt in karate, but a wimp to tell about his wife. Now I'll tell you what happened at the Palanca house in the 70s, like in the early 70s. He threw a lamp at my mother and she ducked. He beat her up though after. She called the police. It was a nice neighborhood. It was near Island Park. It was a upper middle class neighborhood. The police came. She went to live with her sister Olive down by Lincoln Fields here in the West End. I went with her. My brother stayed with my dad at the Palanca house. Anyhow, her lawyer told my father, she will stay, but never touch her again or else she'll take everything you have. Your house. She's gonna, take most of your money. So as far as I know, he's never beat her up again. But when she came to my house in Caldwell, they bought me an air conditioner, and my dad called her stupid. So he mentally abuses her, but he doesn't put a hand on her. He knows he'll lose everything. My dad is retired now. They were born in 1933. They're in their early 80s now. They live in Vanier. I won't say what street. When I saw her a few years ago, after 17 years, she squeezed my hand. She really hurt me. She knew I told her my hands were crippled. After dinner, she took my plate and she squeezed that hand hard. I gave her a real dirty look and she let go. I asked my dad, who has money, I'm poor, if I could have a couch and a bed. Wouldn't cost much, about $1,000. My dad can buy a car with a certified check like that. They travel all over the world. They won't help me out at all. I don't have many clothes. I need a lot of clothes. I gained 50 pounds last year due to stress. They could help me out a little bit, I'm sure. They have tons of money, but they choose not to. They're mean to me. But my real family are my friends. Family of choice, I call them. The people that are there. My ex is my friend still. My husband's a very good friend. Of course, he's my husband. I've got some very good friends that will help me in a crunch. You know what I mean, a crunch? Me and Stephen, my third husband, he is abused by his dad, molested, and his father's dead. He's got a sister, Donna, here that doesn't. She's mean to me and Stephen. Tried to break up our marriage. Stephen doesn't talk to her. He talks to his sister Lynn in Vancouver. She's not bad. But the thing is, okay, I've had a tough life, a hard life. I'm still a good person. I have a big heart. I know who to stay away from. I got my street smarts. I know what to do. I told you before, I'm a recluse by choice. I like to sit at the computer all day, and that's my life. I like it. I read. I have cataracts now, but I like the big e-books, I can use my computer, and I can resize the print. I like that, I go to shopping malls, but people make me nervous. I don't like a lot of people around me. I like one-to-one better, or two people around me, not a whole crowd. And I'll tell you something. I did have 3 weeks of bliss with my mother, believe it or not. When I was 17, a few months before I was psychiatrized, my father, in December '71, sent us to Portugal, to Lisbon, the southern province Algarve, and the island, Madeira. When we got on the plane, my mother became a different person. She was calm, lots of fun. I thought to myself, this is not my mother, it's like somebody else I'm sitting beside. We laughed, we had fun. She was pleasant. She was the most beautiful mother you could ever have. It's like a switch, My father wasn't bossing her around. He wasn't terrorizing her. She was very, very calm. I think she married the wrong person between you and me. She was like your best friend. We laughed. We had fun. I had 3 weeks of bliss with my mom. That I treasure forever. I couldn't have asked for a better mom in those 3 weeks. And then as soon as she went back to our apartment, she terrorized everybody. She became a different person. I think my father set her off. He was controlling, he wasn't nice, he was mean. And she became, I guess she couldn't handle the stress, and she took it out on my brother and I. I'm not saying it's okay, but I had 3 weeks of bliss with my mother I'll always treasure. She was like someone I didn't know. We got on the plane and we were laughing, and when we were in the hotel, we went all over Algarve, and we met Bill, this man. He was a professor from Kingston. He drove us all around. And I had 3 weeks of bliss in my life. 3 weeks with my mother that I can hang on to in my heart and say, she was wonderful. 3 weeks. It was just amazing. We went to a restaurant where there were dancers doing the Portuguese dance. We laughed. We sang. It was something, it's like a dream, but it was true. It happened. As soon as she came back to Ottawa, she changed into this mean person. She couldn't deal with my father. I think they should have got divorced a long time ago. I think she would have been a better mother if I lived with her alone. My dad was a tyrant. She had to have supper on the table at 6 o'clock sharp to watch the CTV News, CGOH. We couldn't talk at the dinner table. Suzanne and Christian and Ma, Teresa, you gotta be quiet. I'm watching my show for an hour. Couldn't talk at all. If you wanted us back by 9, you better. One time my friend and I went to Hull and we did horseback riding. We came home late an hour. He chased me up the stairs at the Paul Anka house. I was defiant. When we lived at the condo in Vanier, my Egyptian boyfriend and I came home at 2, and I had to run into the bathroom and lock it. He was really mad. I was defiant. On the wards with my parents, I stood up to them. I had a big mouth. My dad scared me, but I took a chance. I stood up to my first husband, Fred. He used to come in. I used to yell at him. I stood up to him. 6'4". I got it in the end. I got beaten up and raped. But I stood up to him. I paid a big price. I stood up to my second husband, too, a mama's boy, John. He attacked me once. I attacked him, and the wall went in about 3 inches. I called a repairman. I said, don't ask, just fix the hole. I stood up to him. He was a wiry little guy. I mean, I'm just 5'4", and he's a man, and I stood up to him. He attacked me. I pushed him right into the wall. Not into the wall. I stood up to the man in my life. I had to. Do I like men? Not much. I don't talk to men much. I don't trust men that I don't know. If I'm online, I say hello. They always ask if I'm married. I say yes, and I say goodbye. I am nice to the men that I know, the activists that I know, well, of course. But I don't trust men that I don't know. So, I've been raped, beaten, electroshock, thrown against walls, thrown downstairs, choked to death almost from my mother and my first husband. Am I a tough cookie? Yes, but I have a good spirit. I know the truth, I know it's right, I know it's wrong, and I'll speak the truth. You either love me or you hate me. It's one of these people. I'm a friend for life if you're loyal. Friend for life. I'll do anything to help you to stand up. I'll give you the shirt off my back and give you my last dollar. I've helped the homeless, psychiatric patients. I've helped a lot of people in Ottawa. I don't do as much of the advocacy for poverty anymore. I'm not in good health. High blood pressure. I'm crippled. I need a back operation. My hands are crippled. My legs are crippled. I had a stroke. Sometimes I talk funny. I have aphasia where you, like for instance, I'll call a bus a boat. I change the words sometimes. But I'm all right. I have a good family doctor, good nurses in the hospital that I see, good I got a good husband. I got a nice cat. Good friends. That's all you need. I don't need a lot of money. Just enough money to live. Am I happy? Of course I am. I'm doing the job I want. I don't get paid, and I love my job. I'm exposing the truth about psychiatry that has harmed and killed a lot of people. A lot of people ask me in Ottawa to go to protest. I says, most of the time I say, no, I can't do that. 3 times a year, I'll take a case and I'll go public in the paper with it. Last year, our library here at the Woodruff Public Library, the ramp was not being built. It was open for about a month and a half. There was just a bunch of concrete. We went on TV and in the newspaper, and then the next week, we had our ramp, a long ramp so I could get in. I couldn't go down the stairs. And my husband uses a walker. He's trying to go down the stairs with a walker. He almost fell once. So we changed that. I changed a policy in 1988 for Ontario. It's called a Disability Support Program. I didn't get my check, and so I changed a policy whereby people do not have to wait for their check for a few months if it's lost or stolen. I changed that. I went to all the City Hall meetings. I don't go much unless it's something I want to do. So I picked 3 things I want to change. My husband and I. We had a protest in 2008 on Parliament Hill on Mother's Day to stop electroshock. I went to Toronto to get my award, as I told you, in 2008 from Dr. Bonnie Bristow, from CAPA, Coalition Against Psychiatric Abuse. Now, I'll tell you something else. I'm in Ottawa. The winters are bad. We want to move, but we have no money. I'm in a wheelchair. I'm stuck in the house for 5 months of the year. I take that truck, you know, for the wheelchairs. I don't like it very much. 2 years ago, a driver raped a lady in a wheelchair. I went to court on his sentencing day. Victor got 4 years in jail. He should have got about 10 or 20. He's coming out in 2 years. Anyhow, so I don't protest that much at the hospitals anymore. I want to focus on giving the public the information they need to hear. Public protests are okay for most people, but I can't do it anymore. My health does not allow me to sit in the sun or the cold or rain anymore for hours. I'm just not in very good physical health. Mental health, I'm good. Physical health is declining. I gotta lose some weight, and I'll be okay, I think. Now I ramble and ramble. I just say at the top of my head what I think, eh? We have many psychiatrists who are standing up to their peers. Dr. Bregan, Dr. Colin Ross, Dr. Seth Farber, Dr. John Breeding. Some are psychiatrists and some are psychologists. Kate Millett, an activist. She has a website, katemillett.com. Kate, M-I-L-L-E-T-T. It's an interesting website. Okay, there's lots of peers that have websites. I have a website, the International Campaign to Ban Electroshock. It is intcamp, wordpress.com. WordPress shut me down. It means I can't change anything. It means it's there. They haven't taken it down, but I can't get into my website. I guess someone wrote to them and said they didn't like my website against psychiatry. I can't get into WordPress. I sent them an email saying I've done nothing wrong. I haven't heard from WordPress.com. I have some other web blogs, and they won't let me change anything on my blogs. They lock me having access to change whatever. That's not nice. Google, you know what they do with Facebook too? They were taking away half of my posts. So I put on my Facebook, and they monitor your Gmail and your Facebook. Eh? You know that, eh? Do you know that? And I posted a post. Say, don't do that to me. I've done nothing wrong on my Facebook. I make sure all the posts are clean. There's nothing wrong, and they put them all back. Believe it or not, I said put them all back. I didn't. What they took off, they put back. I'm quite proud of that. Why should they be taken off Facebook? I have no swearing words. I have nothing bad on my Facebook. If anything is wrong, I delete it, and then I block the person. They can't have access to my website, my Facebook. I'm very, very, very clear on that. I send an email, a Facebook message. Do not put anything on that's explicit, adult entertainment, you know, the type of stuff. It must be appropriate. They know already. If they do it once or twice, out they go. I block them, and they can't have, it just says, this page is not here. It's there, all right. They've done something wrong. I take the person off. My pages are clean, they're decent, and there's no dirty jokes or any dirty talk. Out they go. Now, another thing I'm going to say, I live in Ottawa housing, eh? It's bad here. One elevator that always breaks down. People that fight a lot here. We've drug addicts. Not that I'm judging them, okay? Alcoholics, not judging them. A lot of fights here. And there's the, what do you call it? The vandalism in the basement. And the button to my entrance to the building, the little red button for accessibility, breaks down every week. So if I'm alone, I can't get out and I can't get in. So, well, that's something else, eh? And the elevator was broken down for a few weeks. So I called the newspaper, and my neighbor down the hallway that lost a leg, she was on TV. So now as soon as we say fix it, they run and fix it quite a bit. When I have no heat, one time I didn't have any heat in Ottawa housing here, about 10 years ago. I've been here 21 years, unfortunately. I wish I could move to a better place. But I don't have the money, I'm poor, right? I make $12,000 a year on my pension. I'm living about $3,000 below the poverty line. I'm not only poor, I'm poor as a church mouse, okay? So anyhow, you know, they had no heat, and I had terrible bronchitis. I called the Westin Hotel at the Rideau Center downtown. I said, hello, I'm Sue Clark. I can't talk. I have bronchitis. Can I come in? He said, I'll call the manager. He said, I seem to know you somehow. I said, I'll bring my ID. So I went to the Westin Hotel. I said, I'm allergic to cigarette smoke. And they brought me up to a room. I think the 12th floor was non-smoking. And locked the door, and I asked if I could have free phone calls local, because I'm an activist and I had to call the newspaper. He said, okay. I didn't eat the snacks there at all. I just called locally. And I called one of the newspapers. They said, we can't see you tonight on the TV because there's a big fire at a restaurant on Gloucester and Bank. But they said, we'll take your story over the phone. So I did. And I told them as I walked in, I said, I want to get the media for you. And tomorrow morning, you'll see my story in the newspaper. There'll be free advertising for your hotel. Sure enough, it was in the paper the next day. I got them a thank you card, and I got a voucher for breakfast, and I went for breakfast. And as I left, I gave a very good thank you, shook the hand of the manager, and they had the newspaper article and the thank you card. They're very nice. A few years ago, a lady must have seen my story. She was elderly. They had a fire, and they put it up for a night. When I looked at the back of the door, it was a 270-night room, and it was non-smoking. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful, beautiful room. Oh, the mattress, so soft. You know one of these excellent mattresses? Oh, I didn't want to get out of bed that morning. It was beautiful. I never had a mattress like that in my life. Anyhow, enough about that. So anyhow. Yeah, did you ever tell what the time in 2000, Jean Chrétien and his government wanted to cut vocational rehabilitation services for the disabled? I took a fit, eh? So called some friends in the press. I went down to 24 Sussex Avenue, the Prime Minister's official residence. I had a big chain I bought from Canadian Tire, not a real chain, big chain, you know. And I had a lock. I chained myself to the fence. Now, I had tried this a few years before, and I knew that the RCMP could not cut the link. I knew that already. I tested this out. So the press were there, and the RCMP said, Miss Clark, you got to get away from this fence. I said, how can I? I'm tied up here with a chain. I said, where's the key? I said, I don't know. I don't have the key right now. It was a lie. Someone had a key. They knew that. I said, who has it? Well, about 20 people there. They're not going to ask 20 people because they'd all say no, right? So they called up the Ottawa police. They tried with their big shears to cut the, to cut the chain at the back of my coat. And I told the RCMP. I was joking. Don't cut my coat, officer. It's $300. It was a used wool coat. I'll sue you. My name is Sue. He laughed. Anyhow, I got a lot of press. My friends were there, and my friend Harry Funk, he's dead now, rest his soul. Always bring a lawyer with you or someone legal. So the cops went up to him and asked him, is she crazy? He said, no, she's normal. She's just protesting the cut to voc rehab. So they didn't arrest me. And then they wanted the chain. I said, no, police officers, you're not getting that chain. It's $10. So I saw this lady with a trench coat. I said, what are you? Like the Prime Minister Secretary? She said, that's not funny. I'm from CSIS. Canadian, it's like the FBI in Canada. And she came towards me, and there were two tall officers from the RCMP tearing over her. She was short. She said, Miss Clark, you are a threat to national security. I'm going to look on your file. You're in trouble. And don't you ever come back again and do this. You'll be in big trouble. I said, how can I be a national threat to security? I'm tied to a fence. I can't even walk. I have a walker. And the two officers behind her, the RCMP, had their hands over their mouth. They were laughing at her. So she said, go and don't come back. I said, sure. I said, I'll go. Not a problem. That's what I did. And one time I went to Queen's Park, provincial parliament buildings, then that you could walk in. I walked up to Bob Rae's office, the Premier's office, and a security lady said, hey, what are you doing? I said, I want to see Bob Rae. You need an appointment. So I stood by the railing. It was a type of building where every floor could see the next floor. It was all open in the middle. So I said, hello, I'm Sue Clark. I'm homeless. I need a place to live. I was there. I was beaten up by my boyfriend, Stefan. And I was at the shelters. I was at the homeless shelter. And the one for the battered women, too. On Spadina, and the one called the Robertson House. Anyhow, this is what happened. So I started to sing opera. I said, have you got a law against singing? She said, no. So I sang, hello, Madame Butterfly, really loud. I got a real loud voice. The person could hear me 10 blocks away. So a man came out of Bob Rae's office. A very distinguished black man came to me and said, can I assist you? He didn't talk to me like I was crazy. I said, yes. I went to the Premier's office, a long office and a nice leather couch, and I sat down. What's your name? Sue Clark from Ottawa. I said, need some housing. I said, there's one that wants me down on Spadina and whatever. It's a co-op, a little co-op. I was interviewed so many times, and they said they wanted me. But it'd take 6 months. He said, what's their number and where are you staying? I said, Nellie Shelter. I can stay 3 times a year because I'm an activist for free. Okay. But before I got to Queen's Park, I was on the subway crying with one tissue. I had to wring it out every time, and some lady gave me Kleenex. What's wrong, dear? I said, you don't want to hear, I'm homeless. So I cried all the way on the subway. One Kleenex, someone gave me another Kleenex. Someone said, here's some more Kleenex. It was quite comical, but really at the time I was very despondent and I was depressed, okay? So I said goodbye. So I went on the subway again, back to Nellie Shelter crying. I think I had 2 Kleenexes this time and crying. I had to wring it out every time because I didn't have much Kleenex. And people would give me Kleenex, what's wrong, dear? And they give me some more Kleenex, what, 4 or 5 more Kleenexes. That was nice, eh? So then I went to Nellie's and said, I'm just going to bed, I'm just tired, I'm fed up. And so in the morning, I got up early, I went to the welfare office, I left Nellie's. I had a message waiting for me at Nellie's in the morning that said, you have your housing at the co-op, but I didn't ask for it, and I didn't know. And I got up before the staff got up, and I took off. I got money, and I went on the bus, and I went back to my second husband. Now the message, I got a message. My friend Jane Scarf got a message. Where's Sue Clark? She said she's in Toronto. Well, yesterday she went to the Premier's office, and we gave her that co-op she wanted. They usually wait 6 months before we give it to her right away, because we didn't want her to come back and start singing again. Well, I didn't know about the message, and then when they found out they were mad, they said, gee, we're mad. We gave her the co-op, they're waiting for her, and she took off. So that's what I did there. I did a lot of different protests like that. Now, I think I'm going to go. It's 40 minutes, and good night. I think I'll do the rest tomorrow. Have a great night. Have a great day tomorrow. Sue Clark Winburg in Ottawa, the nation's capital, saying goodbye. I guess you see my bag there saying Canada with the red flag. That's my bag for July 1st, our National Day in Canada. Good night. Sleep tight. Bye-bye.